History is not merely a collection of dates and events, it's really a grand tapestry woven with the threads of individual will, courage, and vision. To understand the modern world, we must often ask, what if? What if a pivotal figure had never existed? What if Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, had never been born? This is not just a question for Turkey, but honestly for the entire world. His absence would create a vacuum so immense that the course of the 20th century would be fundamentally altered. Without his guiding hand, the very idea of a sovereign, modern and secular Turkish nation might have remained a distant dream, lost in the ashes of a fallen empire. His leadership was the spark that ignited a revolution, a force of nature that reshaped a society. To imagine this alternate history as well, to stare into an abyss. The Turkish War of Independence was not a guaranteed victory. Honestly, it was a desperate gamble against overwhelming odds. The Turkish army was a shadow of its former self, exhausted and poorly equipped after years of devastating conflict. The nation was occupied by foreign powers, British, French, Italian, and Greek, each with its own ambitions for the Anatolian heartland. In this bleak landscape, Ataturk emerged as the central organizing force, the rallying point for a fractured resistance. Without his leadership, the national struggle would have likely splintered into localized, uncoordinated efforts. Competing pashas and regional leaders, lacking his strategic vision and diplomatic acumen, would have failed to unite the people under a single, cohesive banner for liberation. Ataturk's military genius was on full display throughout the war. From his brilliant defense at the Battle of Sakarya, which he famously called a war not of lines but of surfaces, to the final decisive blow of the Great Offensive, the Treaty of Sèvres, which the Ottoman government had been forced to sign. It would have dismembered Anatolia, creating an independent Armenia and Kurdistan. What remained would be a tiny, landlocked Turkish state in central Anatolia. The borders of modern Turkey were not drawn by chance. They were forged in the crucible of war and secured through masterful diplomacy, both of which were orchestrated by Ataturk. A failed war of independence would have led directly to the implementation of the Treaty of Sèvres, resulting in a drastically smaller and fragmented country. Imagine a map where Izmir and the entire Aegean coast belong to Greece, where the south is under French and Italian control. At the Lausanne Conference, his delegation, led by his trusted lieutenant İsmet İnönü, steadfastly rejected the terms of Sèvres, demanding recognition of full Turkish sovereignty over Anatolia and eastern Thrace. He also masterfully negotiated the Montreux Convention in 1936, which restored full Turkish control over the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, vital waterways connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, making Turkey a pawn in the geopolitical games of other nations. Ataturk's vision, really extended far beyond just securing Turkey's borders. He aimed to fundamentally transform its society from a traditional faith-based empire into a modern, secular, and forward-looking nation-state. Central to this project was the principle of secularism, or laiklik. He methodically separated religion from state affairs, abolishing the caliphate, shuttering religious courts. Education was the engine of his revolution. So he launched a nationwide campaign to eradicate illiteracy, introducing a new Turkish alphabet based on Latin script to replace the complex Arabic one. This single reform made reading and writing accessible to millions. The reforms touched every aspect of daily life, from law to language. Ataturk replaced Islamic Sharia law with a modern civil code adapted from Switzerland. This provided a predictable, secular legal framework that was essential for economic development and individual rights. He also spearheaded the purification of the Turkish language. Perhaps one of the most profound and revolutionary aspects of Ataturk's vision was his unwavering commitment to the emancipation of women. He understood that a nation could not achieve modernity if it left half of its population behind. The new Civil Code of 1926 abolished polygamy and gave women equal rights in matters of divorce, inheritance, and child custody, granting women a level of personal freedom and security they had never known. Women began to work as doctors, lawyers, judges, and academics. The most dramatic step came in 1934, when Turkish women were granted the right to vote. In the following election, 18 women were elected to the Turkish parliament. Imagine a world where Ataturk never existed. Turkey, stripped of his vision and leadership, would have remained fragmented and vulnerable, its borders carved up by foreign powers. The Aegean coast under Greek control, the south governed by French and Italian authorities, and Istanbul a city of foreign soldiers. These would be the realities of a Turkey without sovereignty. The Eastern Mediterranean would become a flashpoint for conflict, as colonial ambitions clashed with rising Soviet influence. Without a strong independent Turkey, the region's balance of power would collapse. Instead of a stabilizing republic, Turkey might have become a battleground during World War II, invaded and occupied by Axis or Allied forces, its people caught in the crossfire of global war. The absence of Ataturk's reforms would mean no secularism, no modern education, and no progress for women. Outdated schools, religious courts, and suppressed voices would define daily life. Women would remain in the shadows, denied education and equal rights, while economic stagnation and poverty gripped the nation. The world would lose a model of national self-determination and peaceful modernization. Instead, instability would ripple outward, fueling unrest across the Middle East and beyond. Ataturk's absence would echo through history: no peace at home, peace in the world, but rather a legacy of division, occupation, and lost potential. In the end, the story of Ataturk is not just about one man, but about the fate of a nation and the peace of an entire region. His vision changed the course of history. Without him, the world would be a far more dangerous place.